I bet it had to be interesting times growing up at home. Your father would share some of the stories and trials and tribulations of what was going on in the practice.
I think, as you know, all 5 of his children became attorneys. And I think the reason people ask me what attracted me to the law, we grew up in Bayside, Queens, and there were a couple of other attorneys that lived in the area, but none who were sort of in private practice. And my recollection growing up was whenever anything happened in the neighborhood, somebody was in an accident, somebody died, somebody got arrested, we would get a knock on our door or a call at all hours of the night. And it seemed like my father was the person they went to for help and guidance, and he was well respected. And he was also, in his own practice, his own boss. So growing up, he had 5 children, all of whom were involved in sports and activities, and my dad was at all of them. He was able to, work his schedule around getting to see his children and be active in our lives.
So important.
And I think he was probably more involved in talking about what we were doing than in what he was doing. Although we'd hear about the interesting case because we'd tell him. And I do remember once I was playing for Holy Cross High School in Flushing, Queens. We had a game against Bishop Loughlin, which is in Brooklyn. It's downtown Brooklyn. It's probably, it's probably take you about 30 minutes to get there by car. And our game was at 4:15 in the afternoon that day. I can remember arriving in the gym, going into the locker room. The gym was basically empty. When we came out to warm up, there were 2 people in the stands for our team. My father and Mr. Barbarino, who was our chemistry teacher, who lived in Brooklyn, but he went to all the games. My dad was on trial in the Bronx, actually on an attempted murder trial. And he told me he got off by going up to the judge the day before saying, I have to leave early tomorrow, because my son has a basketball game. And the judge said, I'm going to hold this all up because you want to go to a basketball game? And my father said to him, Judge, what does it matter if we convict this gentleman today or tomorrow? And the judge laughed and he let him go. And the kicker is he got an acquittal on the case.
But truly a dedicated man.
He was dedicated to his children. So I remember more growing up. There were cases you heard about and funny stories and things that happened. A lot of it was because it came to our door, even though my dad's office was probably only a mile from his house. He was there when people had a problem and came to him. As you know, my father says he's probably the only person who had all of his children and his father work for him. My grandfather, who had left school at a young age, he was a military police officer in World War I, actually got out of the war, went back home, and he became a police officer in New York City. And while he was a police officer, he went back and got his GED for high school. He went to college and graduated. And then he went to law school and graduated law school at the age of 65 and went to work for my father. As my father said, writing out complaints and doing things and keeping busy. But,
what better testimony? What a true family spirit here. There's no doubt about that. Had to be a wonderful time growing up.
No, I think it was. We had great times growing up.